I got a question. Why not pick the Erlang Guan in that same spot that they picked the Guan Circuit? Do you think that's something that, Weekend was just going for and it doesn't gel with the composition? Or, what's the idea around that, Taco?
I think more so than anything, what the idea behind the Circuit was to try and give him a lot more viability and being able to pick and secure BaRRaCCuDDa. Because you could also see Weekend, majority of the time, if he wasn't going onto Xeno, he was definitely putting a lot of emphasis into trying burst BaRRa down. But majority of the time as well, I feel like he had a lot of difficulties considering that the immunity on the Soul 3 plus the Soul Sanctuary, like he was having a really difficult time, and then Mass just kept coming in with these cleanups on him.
Another thing too for that is that, obviously BaRRaCCuDDa, a lot of times the ultimates were coming out onto him, the Circuit ults, while he was still into separate form. Like, that was just poorly timed by Weekend. The Celestial lead, Jin Helm on top of that as well, like 90 physical protections. Like, it just seemed like ALG were not able to deal with BaRRaCCuDDa.
90 physical protections that are cost efficient, also give you 60 power, and have that passive up against Circuit, who's going to crit you in the late game, up against 4 physicals, was a must buy for BaRRa. I wouldn't have been surprised if he got the other helm as well, the Dynasty play helm. Why not? You're only taking magical damage from Nox.
Well, we're into picks and bans here. Game 2, LG getting the better of Allegiance, but it wasn't easy. Early game was definitely a back and forth affair. Allegiance already have made adaptations, banning away that soul, and they keep the BaRRaCCuDDa off the table as well.
Yeah, what I would really like to see out of ALG, more so than anything this game, if they want to try and split this, I think what they need to do is just pick a composition that has a lot more hard CC and engage base into it, because they started out last game fine, but like Aggro said, once you get 2 actives online, it's going to pretty much negate anything that the Nox could try and do, especially when your team is already lacking a lot of CC.
Very surprised to see ALG ban away the BaRRaCCuDDa and not the Susano. I mean, I know Masked plays a ton of BaRRaCCuDDa, but that's an early game god, and ALG seems to be drafting early game compositions in general. So if you can shut down Rat in the early game with your overall team composition, that puts you in a great spot. Susano didn't do a whole lot in the first 10 minutes, and then Mask comes out and carries the game.
I will say Mask, we didn't catch it on screen, but he actually did get soloed by Stealth in between, I think, a Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. I'm really interested to see how that happened, but after that, he just went off. And here's that Erlang Shen we were talking about, and Stealth, he's not going to go the Nox Circa Culkin, he's going to go a complete comfort pick in Janus.
I love this pick here. I love this pick for Stealth. Like you mentioned, a complete comfort pick, one of the premier Janus players in the world. And if you're lacking engage overall, if you're going to put Guan Yu into the support role, you don't have to really engage with Janus with one person, because you can engage with your entire team. You can just drop ship your whole team into the Gold Fury, onto a speed buff, anything like that. If you ward deeply in the enemy jungle and just group up with Janus, and as soon as you see someone on a ward farming back camps, boom, 4 people there, instant death, and then you can kind of move around the map at will after that. I love this pick so far.
Do we still think that Cope doesn't have a god yet? Because Guan Yu in support, incredibly likely. Erlang Shen in jungle, incredibly likely. But we don't really know. Like, do you think they're gonna go triple warrior?
It's just, I would really hate to see them run a triple warrior comp personally, because I would prefer double guardian over a triple warrior, just in the sense that I think if you stack too many physicals, they're going to encounter a lot of the same issues that they had in that last game.
In game 1, yeah.
And I mean, like we pointed out, I really do love this Janus, and considering for the engage, but I also like the Janus pick just for the disengage, because a lot of times they had a huge issue with trying to escape from Mask on that Susano pick, but I think that the Janus is going to provide them that escapability factor now.
The only problem with this Janus pick is that it's not going to have that burst damage like you had with Nox. It is a little bit more AoE. It isn't quite a single target as Nox usually is, but those unstable vortexes aren't going to be hitting you for more than about a third of your life up until 25 minutes or so. So ALG needs to draft some extra damage. We saw Venenu on that Neath. Worked out earlier against Eager, I believe he played it, but not so much in that last game. I'd like to see them go somewhere else and get some extra damage, because they're going to need it with the Janus.
Well, it continued to be a very long and calculated picks and bans phase. Raijin targeted out against Xenotronics, obviously, I would say his premier god. Luminosity, though, taking shots at Venenu. They're not scared of the Neath that he's been bringing out regularly, more worried about Medusa and Freya.
I think that they're concerned about that Medusa, especially because they already have the taunt coming out from Erlang, which provides kind of the same utility that an Athena taunt would, which is very good for Team Allegiance's playstyle. And then the Freya, of course, nobody wants to deal with the Freya, especially when she gets to that mid-late game stride.
Not at all.
Surprised to see Robin banned away real quick for Allegiance based on ScaryD's performance on it yesterday. I would have probably paid ScaryD to play Robin at that point. But ALG, I mean, just clearly respecting that he had a much better game this time, probably in a better state of mind, and going for the safe ban. And then Agni locked in for Xeno and mid. This is a guy that Xeno loves to play. I just don't know how much I like it.
Double warrior and a Guan that's going to be able to heal up a lot of that poke damage.
Specifically Erlang. I mean, against Erlang, we saw how much it crushed him whenever he played against Eager.
Yeah.
It was Aurora just coming mid, pitting him into raw snipes. Here it's just going to be pitting him into portals, into unstable vortexes, whatever you need.
Well, Ymir locked in. Ram obviously going to be fine for Venenu, but the Ymir, Erlang, Shen, Guan Yu, like, where are we expecting these to go?
Honestly, Ymir, I would like to see that going into the duo lane on Incon because of the fact that Ymir is actually an excellent pick for the Jing Wei. She can't actually escape from that unless she's burning her ult. He's probably one of the few supports that's actually really good at locking down a Jing Wei.
You know what I'm surprised at? We actually, the lack of Odin. Like, Odin into that comp would have been good, but again, obviously, they would have locked themselves into the triple warrior. No escapes for LG against the walls at the very least. Before we head into game, this is critical for both of these teams. Like, with Eager being so dominant, they need these wins. Aggro, who do you have in this one?
I've got LG. I came into this set thinking that it was going to be ALG 2-0 probably, but giving Mass Susano again, I think it's just too strong.
Taco?
I'm down for LG to win or for a split at the very least. It would make things spicy for tomorrow.
I thought this was going to be a split today, so I'm going to keep true to that. I'm going to pick ALG, but we have Tom and Toli ready to cast you the game.
I like how explosive this match is going to be. Honestly, you've got the analysts can't even figure out amongst themselves who they think is going to win. Allegiance have an interesting composition, but again, I'm looking at Luminosity. These matches have been won on the back of the duo lane. JeffHindla and BaRRaCCuDDa have been absolutely extravagant, and if you have to find a role player that's stepping up, it's absolutely Mask. And guess what? Those three players are on three extremely volatile characters.
We heard BaRRaCCuDDa and JeffHindla on the comms. They are the staple for Luminosity now going forward. Now tied between Eager and Allegiance, all at 4 points, heading into the game 2 of the first set. This is very critical right now for Allegiance to take their composition and start being successful, because the first game, they were grouping up very well in the early game, but the mid game, they couldn't force the issue quick enough.
When it comes down to it, and you can see Taco was asking to see the Ymir in the duo lane, which I agreed with as well. Very few characters can lock down a Jing Wei as well as the Ice Giant, but it will be Cope bringing him into the solo lane. So Vamana versus Ymir. Hey Toli, you're a big fan of the Ymir solo. How you feel about this matchup?
It should be a pretty standard matchup. ScaryD doesn't really have to get frozen out here. He can easily, once he hits level 3, as long as he's able to get to the back archers, he can clear from the backside so that he doesn't get frozen and glacial strike by the whole wave.
And that's really where the damage comes from. And speaking to that, I love that Aggro brought it up, because I'm sitting here, you and I were sitting here watching the picks and bans, and I just kept saying, there's no damage on Allegiance. There's no damage on Allegiance. And Aggro said it, thankfully, that they needed to find damage in the second half. Ram's obviously going to bring damage. You did not expect to see the Neath, because you needed more damage. And the Ymir choice, I like that. And if you're looking for the damage, solo's the better spot than support, I suppose. If you're looking for those mid to late game team fights, Ymir's going to bring the damage as well.
Once he gets those levels online, he'll be hitting like a truck between his passive as well as his glacial strike, being able to do 370 damage at level 9 once that gets maxed out. So once he starts making these rotations, the walls are actually going to devastate the members of Luminosity. They can't go through it.
Not at all. And, you know, this is Allegiance playing into Luminosity. Look at this. Look at this. Allegiance trying to get the invade going on, but they show up, well, a little bit early. And because of that, not going to be able to really secure much of anything. Luminosity's going to leave their speed buff alone, and Allegiance just going to chase to lane. Who comes out on top here?
Even despite Allegiance not having Wrath, the sheer damage 1v1 or level 1 between the Erlang and the Ymir heavily favors Allegiance.
And looking for the team fight here. 2-on-2 over in the solo lane. Cope actually takes a ton of damage, but Stealth has made the secret rotation.
And it was spotted out by Xenotronics, so he was making the call. So now the Fire Giant Elementals are going to go in the way of Allegiance. Weekend still level 1, but so is Mask. It's going to be the Erlang Shen winning these little skirmishes with his in-hands, being able to proc off of his dog, as well as having that splash on the 4th hit.
Here's the aggression we expect in the duo lane. Jeff and BaRRa on the Sobek and the Jing Wei respectively. This is going to be a bloodbath. Jeff and BaRRa, they're not only are they on powerful characters, they're on powerful characters that they enjoy. They're on powerful characters that lean themselves to be aggressive, and they're two very aggressive players. This is going to be a bloodbath.
We saw in the last game, it was actually Allegiance in the duel lane that was able to outpush Jeff and BaRRa, but this time around with these comfort picks between the Jing and the Sobek, it's going to be those two seasoned veterans on the aggressive side of things. So Luminosity now with a pretty good start despite being denied around the speed of blue.
Right side, again, like you said, ScaryD going to clear out a little bit, gets frozen, but avoids some of the damage, able to knock up Cope there. And there's a follow-up to the invade. Legion's going to finish off and not finish off the speed buff. One more time, get it interrupted. ScaryD gets the big shot to the face. Beautiful wall coming out and a portal to secure it. One more shot will do it. First blood of the mage, but problems for Weekend. He's very low and Mask answers back immediately. MLC Stealth in some trouble as well. No cooldowns. Portal up in a second. There it is. Safety for the mid lane.
The Jetstream just did not connect, unfortunately, to Stealth, so it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. First blood, though, going in the way of Allegiance as they were able to pick off ScaryD. His dash was used in the soul lane as he was making the rotation. That was called out, so a great recognition from the boys of Allegiance.
Very important play there from Mask, able to answer back immediately, cutting that 500 gold bounty down to about 2 or 3. Here's the counter invade coming out from Luminosity. Mask trying to start the party, and Xenotronics going to continue. Ultimate out of MLC Stealth. He's level 5. Guess who's not? It's Mask, and he's not going to hit it for a while. He's going back to base. Weekend puts number 2 on the board for Allegiance, and they counter the counter invade with a kill of their own.
That was a level 2 Erlang Shen against the level 4 Susano that was able to make that play. Just now hitting level 3. It was a great rotation from Cope, being able to really pincer Mask having nowhere to go. And there's a little bit of a mind game between these two.
Oh, ScaryD gets frozen, quickly has to dash away, even despite the wall. And that's one of the powerful things about the Erlang Shen in the jungle is that, look, he's not going to really look for the damage. He's not there to really just powerhouse you down. And level 2 versus 4, clearly that goes in the way of the level 4. But all Weekend had to do was drop a root. That was his entire job there in that team fight. It doesn't matter if you're level 2. The root's the root.
The cripple is just so devastating to Susano. He's relying on the dash, the third strike of the Stormcada, as well as his Jetstream to be able to teleport that. So as long as Weekend can consistently hit that root cripple, then Mask is not going to really be able to disengage off of his engages.
And that's just something that Weekend's going to keep on bringing to the fights and the party, basically. Level 5 for Mask. Got to be aware of that Typhoon. Grab forward. There's a Typhoon. And Weekend still not 5. And JeffHindla going to get credit for it this time around. Not going for it. I thought he was going to keep following up. Incon was very close to death.
It was the sprint that deterred JeffHindla from really wanting to chase that down. A nice little clean pick in the mid lane is going to continue to extend the level advantage for Mask. Now, being able to use that Typhoon brilliantly, just obliterating Weekend.
It's a very interesting here. One of the biggest complaints that you hear from a lot of people about MLC Stealth is that his god pool is relatively small. Right, that's one of the popular criticisms you hear about Mr. Felly over here. The problem for me is, if that's the case, why does every single game he get one of his comfort picks? He's got the Nox, he's got the Janus, everyone's aware that these are his gods, and yet for some reason he winds up with these selections.
Because it's not just about stealth for Allegiance, it's everyone from Allegiance that gets a god that they should get or not get, because now we see Weekend. He was denied some other gods before. The Susano was taken away from him, relying on the Erlang Shen, recognizing just how powerful it is to synergize with stealth. We saw Ymir play Erlang Shen for Aurora, and this god is just very useful, whether it's support or the jungle.
Nice knock up onto the solo lane, and I got to agree. I mean, the setup, Weekend excels when he's able to set up for the rest of his players on his team.
It's going to be Incon getting knocked out by BaRRaCCuDDa, wanting to play aggressive. He is level 8 right now to Venenu 7, and in the early game phases, Jing is definitely more reliable, trying to reposition herself in these little jungle skirmishes.
Especially when you're fighting in those little corridors and these little kind of hard to navigate places in the jungle. That gust is the size of the spot you want to walk through. Either you walk through and get knocked up and shot in the face, or you just walk away. So great positioning coming out from the Hunter there on the side of Luminosity.
Luminosity, though, they wanted to force the issue around this mid tower. 3 of them really grouped up at the tower line specifically, as well as having the ward in the mid lane, being able to clear the wave, start rotating towards the gold fear. They're going to wait for that left side mid harpy to respawn, so trying to get some sort of advantage.
Tie game here very early on. Venenu going to head back to base, and with the boots finished, we'll see which direction he goes in. We've seen a lot of different builds coming out from Venenu. He's been one of the more experimental hunters, I would say, going the full penetration build on the ability-based hunters, and now this time around building into likely an Ichabod.
This is what he really wants to do. He wants to take these 1v1 skirmishes against BaRRa and try to stop his aggressive side. So that deters BaRRa from wanting to dash aggressively. Instead, he's going to be relying on the rotations from Jeff as well as Mask instead of taking the 1v1s.
Weekend looking for the team fight, gets served up himself. Xenotronics can't find the stun, and there's damage out to Incon as he dashes right on in. Cope is there as well, but it's a 3-on-5. Mask dashes forward, and a beautiful portal coming out of MLC to save himself. While everybody was looking at the support, 5 players deep is LG on the right side of the map. The rotation out of Weekend and Venenu comes a little bit late, but luckily for Allegiance, and I say luckily, they get out there by the skin of their teeth.
Unfortunately, the wall from Cope just kind of shut down Incon's potential to really dive with that ultimate. On top of this, Incon's sprint saving his own life twice in a row now. Allegiance, they've been really needing to get these initiations off, but it's Luminosity that's been grouped up around the jungle fight. Can't really force the issue for Allegiance.
Tank boost for both of the supports. So opting to go for the more tanky builds, and on these 2 characters, I think that's the right choice. Both Incon on the Guan Yu and JeffHindla on the Sobek. They're going to be behind enemy lines more often than not. They're going to be surrounded by players more often than not. You got to have that early tank, because that was, I mean, looking back to even this earlier this season, one of the go-to strategies, specifically early game, was focus to support.
And that's exactly why they're building this way, even going for more physical defense right off the bat. Sometimes a lot of these supports will go for Mark of the Vanguard immediately after getting the reinforced greaves, but going for more utility style. Cooldown's probably coming out of Incon, going for the breastplate of Valor. But on the flip side, looking at these junglers right now, it's going to be the Ichabod for Weekend. He really wants to get these in-hands off. Erlang Shen is one of these great junglers that synergize so well with attack speed between his Mink and his Steroid.
And of course, the extra shots out of the doggo is going to be a big deal right there. And, you know, like I said, Erlang Shen isn't being looked at for the damage, but if you want to build him attack speed, it's certainly a viable option. Every hit's going to wind up doubling up, sort of like Mr. Jean Quay in his book over there. But it's a big point to really make sure to maximize that attack speed if you want. Incon looking for the surprise hit after a large burst coming out of the mid lane. Ultimate out of MLC Stealth will clip Xenotronics, and to the sky goes Venenu. Not quite as accurate as some of his compatriots. He only finds 1 out of 3.
And Cope, though, still doing a good job being a bully against ScaryD, not making him, allowing him to make that rotation. Vamana's one of these gods that wants to get in these team fights. He has the highest base movement speed in the game at 380. And on top of that, with his dash, should close the distance, but now Stealth unfortunately clipped the wall with a portal. Definitely wanted to hit Xeno with that one. I
like the little, well, it's there, might as well take it. just got to go for the portal. Right here, got to go for ScaryD. Big baby don't matter. We could go in hard for the kill. And there it is. Allegiance puts number Trace on the board.
Just not enough health really for ScaryD to survive that one. And that's going to be important to utilize this early game build coming out of Weekend. He invested into this offensive style, and now it's paying off. Before we see ScaryD finishing off the physical defense, he wants to survive against Cope, building that Genji's guard.
And that's going to work out as well. We'll see how the protections lean. But Mana, it's interesting. We were talking about this item on Guan Yu before and how perfectly it's synergized. How do you think it works out on the baby?
It's still really effective because you're also spam abilities as Vamana. You want to be able to get off as many armored umbrellas and umbrella ranks in these teamfights as possible. You never want to be in a position where you're about to die and you don't have enough mana for your ultimate or your dash. So with Genji's guard, he'll always have the escape options. And on top of this, it's going to limit the offensive capabilities for Cope right now if he really wants to force the issue.
And that'll be a good shot in lane at the very least. We'll see how it works out in actuality. Just after 10 minutes here, Fire Giant has spawned and is ready to fight, but I doubt we'll see that for a while. In fact, I doubt we'll see that even at 18, 19 minutes unless something drastic happens. Both these teams seem deadlocked at the moment.
We don't see any Wraths coming out of these teams in the second game. We saw last game, it was Incon that started off Wrath right away. He wanted to be able to get those Gold Furies.
And I think that Wrath was built specifically to counteract the burst out of the Nox. Or he had the Nox on his own team.
So he wanted to synergize
support
off of it a little bit
that
more.
Was the thing.
And on top of this, now with Incon still playing this Guan Yu, he wants to, on the flip side, Luminosity, Xenotronics on the Agni, he has the Divine Ruin Rush that he really wants to try to get off. And Agni is one of those gods that's probably the best option to have that Divine Ruin. As long as you have your passive ready, the damage over time is so good.
And there's a big burst coming on through, but not able to really find much of anything. Weaken's here by himself, pushing up 1v3. The rest of Allegiance seem a little bit more hesitant to join the party. So they won't.
Doing a good job forcing out the purification out of Mast at least. So now that cooldown between 90 seconds and 160 going to favor out Weaken. As long as he's continuing to force the issue, Stealth should be able to really respond. But look at this, Luminosity going to force the issue around the gold.
Going to start it. Gold Fury already half HP. Incon riding in, turns around. He remembers the last time that one happened. Ultimate out of Stealth's going to hit too. Allegiance surging forward. Let's go to the listen in for ALG.
Big group. Huge room. Alright, we can look at bullet. They're really low.
Oh my god.
Vamana underneath. Vamana is underneath. Yeah. So they're gonna have. Like, we need to push forward or kill him. I have blink still.
DPI is messed up. Hold on. I got it.
I have blink still. We just need to. You buy stuff right now? Yeah.
So,
Alright, we need to do this quick before they fly in. Yep. Or we just need to reset, whatever.
someone flew in. Sobek's backing, they don't know.
We just do it. Somebody do it.
They know now.
Oh,
Vamana is coming in. Who's the burst? Who's the burst?
Stun.
Get out.
Where's that in?
I don't have mana. They don't have mana.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just dead, boys. That's fine.
Yeah, just let him die.
Make sure they don't push mid.
And right there, let him die. Cope falls down. Scary D ties it up with the kills. But Allegiance take a step forward, now leading by about 600 or 1,000 thanks to that Gold Fury.
Somebody always has to be that sacrificial lamb. Stealth, though, barely able to get through that portal against 3 members from Luminosity. So Allegiance, they get the Gold Fury off of a nice ultimate coming out of Stealth, being able to clip out 2. But unfortunately, the wall yet again from Cope really shut down Allegiance's opportunity to chase that down. And Cope, he could have secured it with his own ultimate, but instead he tried to zone out with the wall and the freeze. And now Luminosity grouped up, getting the Tier 1 tower on the right-hand side off of Cope's death.
And honestly, that Tier 1 tower is just going to take any lead that Allegiance had with the Gold Fury right out of their hands. And you know what, totally, I don't know if Cope was the sacrificial lamb or being taught a lesson there. Just let him die, just let him die. That was Allegiance 7 ways to Sunday over there on the left-hand side, looking for that fight. They could have dove that tower, cleaned everybody up, gotten so many more objectives, and unfortunately, you know, we've seen a couple of good plays out of Cope. I don't want to paint them completely incorrectly, but that play was not one for the highlight reel. The wall blocked him and his team off and really limited what Allegiance could take care of in that sequence.
He wants to be using his abilities as often as possible with his build, having the Shoes of the Focus, having the Breastplate of Valor. His cooldowns are really high, especially once he picks up this blue buff for even more cooldowns. So this is why he's kind of overextending. I feel like he feels like he has to be making these abilities, but instead he just needs to take a step back, realize what's around him, and realize when is the issue. When does he have to throw the abilities instead? As a result, though, losing that Tier 1 tower is not the end of the world, considering Luminosity's Tier 1 tower in the right-hand side is also very low.
We'll see if he's able to take it down at any point, anytime soon. Here comes the gank out of Luminosity. Cope immediately goes in the ultimate, chasing Mask away, and that'll successfully be a good look.
It seems that Mask didn't want to force the issue because they're always afraid of Stealth's ultimate. That could be the greatest counter gank tool in all of Smite, but Mask, he didn't leave quite yet. Off the mark with the jet stream, but the Typhoon gonna be full charge, but Cope, he's barely taking any damage.
And with that tower, he's barely taking any damage, but he's got a long way to go, and slowly Luminosity can tick him down. No Tier 1 to escape to, so Scary D able to find another kill. That's the second one for Mr. Scary D.
I'm surprised he was that far pushed up without a Tier 1 tower, without any wards really on the top side of the map to spot out the rotation from Mask. And on top of this, I thought he was trying to bait, but now Venenu, he's going to be forced to roll out, sprint from Incon, keeping him alive.
The ultimate out of Scary D, still not willing to dive the tower just yet. Instead, turn on Weaken. In fact, turn and burn. Scary D gets credit for the kill, but everybody on Luminosity surrounded that guy. And down he goes. Nice hit from the mid laner onto Xenotronics.
We were talking about the damage from Allegiance, but just like that, one good unstable Vortex at this point with the penetration boots, the Book of Thoth being finished from stealth is all you really need. As long as Weekend can continuously hit these roots, stealth will hit these vortexes, and Luminosity doesn't have the sustain to really keep this alive. So yet again, Luminosity though, they're so good objectively. Once they find this pick, once they realize that Allegiance isn't forcing the issue, Luminosity is the ones that are going to force the issue.
Now here's the question I want to ask you about that last sequence, Anatoly. Could Luminosity have forced down that tier 1 on the left side?
You mean could Allegiance have forced the issue onto the tier 1?
No, over here, Luminosity, excuse me. We saw Scary D pop up into the big baby form. I think he wanted to wrap around, and the call was definitely, don't do that. Why were they so cautious?
They didn't want to go in between the tier 1 and the tier 2. There's just a lot of escapability for Allegiance to really force the issue, as well as the sustain from Incon. And that's why they rather be patient. They've managed to found the pick onto Weekend instead. All his cooldowns were not available to him. They found another clean pick after already picking off Cope, and Steph's ultimate wasn't available to really save him in time.
Sunder again coming out. I like this choice. Big Baby has been with his itemization. That ultimate's up every single time Luminosity wants to fight. So bringing that Sunder around again is going to hurt the tanky characters and even the damage-oriented characters. Ignoring Xenotronics, looking at the jungle and the long lane, the damage characters there are basically basic attack oriented. Sunder is going to be a big deal here.
On top of the build coming from Venenu, he's going for the Executioner after the Ikaval. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts going into the chin size, trying to strip the health even more from Scary D.
Here comes Weekend, looking for not much besides the wave. However, Venenu looking for BaRRaCCuDDa, rolling forward, getting a couple of pot shots, but that's about it.
Seems that Allegiance, they're still very cautious about what they want to do now. They're starting to slowly slip away. They're down about 2,500 gold, or I'm sorry, 1,500 gold at the 17.5 minute mark. This is not the same kind of Allegiance that we're normally used to seeing. They're the ones that are forcing the issue, but it's Luminosity that are building off of their confidence with their last win.
So now Allegiance, I mean, they're down a little bit, but really it's nothing to be impacted by. Allegiance are certainly still very much in this one, and for all intents and purposes, 1,000, 1,500 at 17, that's basically tied. And if you're Allegiance, you got to start thinking like that. You got to start being willing to take these fights. And right here is a good look. 2 players on 1, but again, MLC and Weekend watch as Mask walks away. They're aware that Luminosity's creeping in the jungle. They don't want to bite too hard.
I love Xenotronics' positioning with the Agni. He's not overextending too far. He's just trying to see what abilities are on cooldown before he drops the bombs. The Javelin Toss not on the mark for Mask. He's going to be able to walk away from that. But now with Cope making this rotation with the teleport, that can allow Scary D some more wiggle room in Soul Lane as he grabs his own blue buff. He could go for the tier 2 with his own teleport.
Well, Legions can also go for the Gold Fury. Starting off already, 75%, maybe 80. And here comes a little bit of aggression coming out of JeffHindla. Cope gets flipped, but it's enough to freeze BaRRa on the backside. Here's a very disjointed team fight. Players kind of timid to go in, timid to step out, and timid to even think about pushing their buttons. Some players just walking around. Scary D finally is going to force out the ultimate from the support. Incon jumps on top. Scary D gets taken out by Venenu. Weekend gets in trouble trying to find the backside. Not quite dead just yet. Maz takes a shot to the head out of Venenu, and Allegiance have a big window of opportunity to look towards the gold.
They found the pick that they needed to. They shut down the big baby solo laner, but now yet again, Cope doing a good job zoning out BaRRaCCuDDa. That's the one damage dealer that they really have to worry about. They're freezing JeffHindla, but he's going to be able to walk away for now.
25, very low on the Gold Fury here, and successful zoning. Love the zoning. Cope dove so hard, he zones JeffHindla all the way back to the base. Xenotronics shows up in a last-ditch effort, but unfortunately, he'll fall in the ditch that he dug himself. Luminosity now have 6 deaths to their name, and with the Gold Fury going down, Allegiance take away the lead. It's 1,500, but more importantly, that's a 3,000 gold swing.
I like the mentality that Xenotronics had there. He tried to be the hero that Luminosity needed. He almost picked up Venenu. On top of this, he almost stole the gold here. There was no wraps on the side of Allegiance, so that risk versus reward was definitely worth Xeno trying to go for. His bombs at this point do hurt quite a lot, despite him having his build only level 15.
Right, and you know, I will never really fault a player. Given the right situation, no rats, no big burst, right? I'll never fault the player for dying there, looking for the dive on the objective. I think that's almost always the correct decision. Xeno gets dropped there, unfortunately, but he had just as well of a chance to drop the gold. Either way, 3,000 gold swing results in Allegiance leading this one by 1,500. Lead change for the LG guys.
Great job from them grouping up now and forcing the issue. This is the Allegiance that we know. They're the ones that need to be making the plays to be able to get the picks that they really need to. Otherwise, if they force Luminosity to make the first play, it just seems Allegiance collapses upon themselves. They don't really know what to do if they're not the ones making the first move.
Venenu with a cute little taunt there in mid lane as he waits out for the wave to come and meet him. Xenotronics, JeffHindla, and BaRRaCCuDDa going to be grouped up here in the mid lane looking for something to do. Right now, as we're approaching 21 minutes on the clock, this is teams sort of getting ready for the next big opportunity. Rather than find these picks, well, if they find we can just hang out in mid, they're going to look for the pick. But picks aren't on players' minds. They're looking for the tower sieges, they're looking for the group up, and they're looking for the team fight.
Both of these teams are getting to the point of the late game. They're getting to that level 17+ mark. Xenotronics still trying to get it as we see Stealth at level 18, but now it's going to be a team fight. Let's listen into Allegiance as it progresses.
They used everything. I couldn't even get actors off.
You know. I heal, but I'm done. They missed everything.
She was low, she was low.
They missed everything, dude. They just don't make everything.
Agni. That's what
Beats are down on Jing too. They're really low in the back. Nice! Really low in the back. Really low in the back. He's no beat.
They're so low in the back. They're so low right here. Jing has nothing. She has nothing.
Oh, you're good. Looking at Jeff and Lucky. You don't need to
No, yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Let's go, boys. What will you push? Push middle on? Push up middle? Be careful, man. Jing wins these next fights. If we know they're coming in from like here, man, make sure you position yourself.
No, I was trying to go through the Janus.
Watch out. Oh, careful. He might help. Listen. No, you're okay. Kill him. Oh, yeah.
I'm coming.
Allegiance turned that one around. You know, it looked like it was going to be a bad fight as soon as Cope missed the freeze, but Allegiance able to update themselves and really come forward and make the play happen. MLC getting surrounded at the moment, but Cope and Incon are here. Should be enough, Toli.
But BaRRaCCuDDa is here as well. He's trying to find the place. A nice ultimate from Stealth. Going to be able to save out Cope for now. Mask pays for his aggression, and now Venenu is trying to find more on security, but going to back off with that one pick. As long as Cope gets healthy, this is the point in time where maybe Allegiance can force the Fire Giant.
Yeah, they slowly are pushing this lead forward, and I got to tip my hat to Venenu. I think he's doing exactly what he needs to do on this team, and he's performing similarly that he was in the fall split. LAN hasn't really seemed to change that, and I think that's a good thing, especially when you're a rookie. He's not here to carry the game, but he's not here to throw the game. Especially the Hunter role, that's kind of odd and strange because you're supposed to be dominant, but that's not always what you need to bring to the table. Venenu's finding the kills when it's necessary, but also allowing space to let the team really work its magic.
He's trying to find his stripes right now. This is his first LAN, and it's the best opportunity for him to really build his confidence playing with Incon, Stealth, and Weekend that have so much LAN experience across the board. And now it's Allegiance. They're being able to slowly come back into this game. We saw a 2-for-2 trade around the Fire Giant, and in those listens-ins, we heard Jeff also in the background keep screaming, help out BaRRa in the back, and that's why Allegiance was able to win that team fight, because Weekend sacrificed himself, and even though he didn't kill BaRRa, he forced him out of that team fight.
Everybody responded to the call, and you know, it's hard to say that that's the wrong call, right? To help out the teammate that's being isolated, but everybody goes to help out BaRRaCCuDDa, and like the important part there was, like you heard Weekend say, they missed everything. Everything was used to take Weekend, and that changes it. Cope's gonna miss another breath, which is a problem. Purification chased out of Venenu thanks to the dash out of the Sobek player. BaRRaCCuDDa gonna hit forward, and there's a good sprint coming out of Incon, but snatched back is Venenu. Mask brings him into the damage out of the mage, but it's enough to be sanctuaried away. Incon surrounded by enemy teammates, and down he goes by Scary D. Ultimate still leading the charge. Cope doesn't have a wall, and the Vamana is able to do work.
Right now, Allegiance doesn't have the Janus ultimate. They don't have the sustain coming out of Incon, and now they don't have their Hunter on Venenu. 5-on-3 on the left-hand side. Stealth trying to escape, but look how aggressive BaRRa is. He's going to ulti back into the safety, though.
And Mask doesn't care, doesn't have an ult to get to safety, just smashes it down. Problems for Cope, goes into the ultimate, popping out and does damage, but it's just not enough to dissuade anybody off of the front lawn. Xenotronics hits one down, BaRRaCCuDDa makes it happen, D aside, and Luminosity take the fight to the left-hand side. Down goes the tier 1, and they've got whatever they want. Up next.
So much back and forth action between these teams. It's just insane how close neck and neck they really are in the points. And in the second game, we saw in the first game just how successful Luminosity was, but you can't really expect the same sort of action coming out of them. With the tier 2 tower being aggressed by ScaryD, they're going to start skyrocketing, and they don't even care about the gold. They're going to force the issue with a Fire Giant.
I love this play, Anatoly. So many teams we've seen, they get a deicide and they still play safe. I mean, I can remember a specific play watching somebody back last weekend when everybody was dead. ScaryD can solo this tower half HP because ain't nobody coming for him. Fire Giant can be taken. Incon's the only one there. Hold that thought. He's not there either. Luminosity get 13 in total, and the Fire Giant's the focus. Venenu's here.
He's trying to come in. He's going to be able to roll on out. He doesn't have his ultimate to steal this
Cope's
one, but it's
here!
Cope. It's too late. Luminosity, get the fire.
Cope's now surrounded. Almost thought he was going to be able to make it happen. Weekend gets knocked up and knocked down. Xenotronics again. That's 3 for the mid lane Agni. Cope now again. Too many players in Luminosity jerseys. ScaryD, how is Babby formed? It's right here at land. 6 kills in total for the solo lane. And we might be watching the game that could take ScaryD from Shaky D to ScaryD.
This is Luminosity's game to close out. They picked off 3 members from Allegiance. Incon just now respawning. They have a 5-on-3 to get these last 2 remaining towers. They could easily go for these towers and Gold Fury before backing. But look at this, BaRRaCCuDDa, he wants to be able to get the Gold Fury. He is the late game objective damage dealer.
And again, just understanding how much opportunity you have. When you take out a deicide, you can put a half-health Vamana with a teleport on the left-hand side to take out a tier 2. You have that luxury. You can put your hunter there on the objective by himself. You have that luxury. But I want to go back to the solo laner here. ScaryD has been anything but his namesake the entire weekend. Day 1 was 24 hours of just not so ScaryD. And day 2, game number 1 even, we didn't really see much. Here, this is one of these games that can transform a player. 6 kills, 3 deaths, and 5 assists, and a lot of these plays on this Vamana have been integral to allowing Luminosity to find this lead. A player can find himself here. I mean, I want you to tap into your experience at LAN and think about some of the rookies that have come and gone. I mean, is this performance in one game enough to sort of turn this guy around?
The fact that he's not tilting off of his performance against Walrus yesterday when he was playing the Raven against Osiris just shows how much he's able to adapt, because that was not a pretty game coming out of ScaryD. There was a last pick Vamana trying to deal with this Ymir coming out of Cope, and he's been making it work. He even built around the Ymir, the Janus, as well as still working with his character, having the MP5. So the mindset is there, the player mentality is there as well. He's not fazed by poor performances.
And here's the deal. I mean, ScaryD is not the star on this team. He's not the hyper carry, and he doesn't have to be, and that's the important part. All Luminosity needs ScaryD to do is play his role, and that hasn't happened up until this point. He doesn't need to go 25-7 on a Hebo solo. He needs to knock people up on Vamana, and that's what he's doing here. Luminosity have to nurture that and allow him to keep doing what he's doing. And like I said, as long as he's able to just have the quarterback memory when he to forget about some issues and able to play his role, he'll be able to help Luminosity with this siege. Big man plays coming out of the left-hand side. All 5 players grouped up with the Fire Giant. Steel Series is going to bring us to listen in as Luminosity surge the Phoenix.
Elbow BaRRA, elbow BaRRA. Elbow BaRRA. Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
They're burning me, they're burning me. Nice. Big ol' one, I pulled one. Go on. Nice, go. Burn your guys. Nice job, guys. Nice, play up, play.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really low,
Nice.
Call that shit.
Nice.
Yeah, you're right. Dude. Can we pressure this? We have to here.
Yeah, there's a way here. I'm pulling up.
We have all 8 of them. Okay, back up. Yeah, it's still 44. I feel like you guys. They're all full. No,
Okay, back up.
Okay, back up. Everyone walk, make sure
If they chase, just walk together, walk.
Yeah. Walk.
Right away. I just, the last listen-in, I wrote ScaryD unsure. That's the Sun Wukong play where he goes, should I ult this? When the answer was clearly yes. Anybody could have told you that. Right there, this listen in, we hear Jeff go, can we pressure this? And ScaryD is the one that answers. Absolutely. We can push forward. I've got Manny. He's more vocal. He's more excited. He's more confident. Like I said, ScaryD's not going to wake up next game and be the hyper carry for this team. It's still going to revolve around dual lane featuring Mask. but ScaryD is going to be the role player and the confident individual that Luminosity need him to be. I think this game is a very important point for him and his team.
Sometimes it only takes one game to really get rid of the land jitters. This is the second game of the first set between these two teams, and ScaryD has been able to make that adaptation. This is why he's now making the final decisions for that mid-Phoenix siege.
I mean, we saw it with Nulissa last week with Elevate. Jermaine gets a pentakill off of an assist from Nulissa, and up until that point, she's a fantastic mid laner, and she's playing super timid. She's not able to go in. After that play, bang, she's up there making big moves. She's making highlight reel plays, and she becomes a big part of what made Elevate get a couple of wins at the end of that. I think we're seeing the same thing here with ScaryD. I think he's going to be able to come into himself and allow Luminosity to really be a more consistent team, because yesterday when they were playing their first match against Eager, they get 2-0 stomped down because of lack of consistency. I think that consistency is what Luminosity need to become victorious.
It's all about momentum, and Luminosity off of their win against Noble and the first win against Allegiance this game, they've been able to really turn things around, and this is why they have the lead that they do. They've been able to put pressure on the left side Phoenix, and Luminosity are waiting for the fire minions to start flooding in on the left-hand side before they really force the issue around the fire giant.
That's exactly what both teams want to do, however. Force the issue around the fire giant. You got over here a bunch of fire minions, not just one, but 2 waves feeding into the left-hand side, and that's going to send Cope all the way back to base. MLC gets a little bit of a shot against the opposition. I love the positioning there, just being aware of how long that portal is going to be, and right next to a big chunk of geometry, able to find his way out. Elite is now being pushed back, but still Luminosity not forcing the issue just yet. Just now starting the fight onto the fire giant. Weekend on the west side, everybody else down south. Incon being forced into the middle of everything by a nice pluck out of JeffHindla. Xenotronics with some good bombs, and Incon being chased out. Lumi leash the fire giant, and Jeff is the one to take down Weekend. Fire minion still coming in as Cope joins the extravaganza. MLC stealth takes down Xenotronics. BaRRaCCuDDa chasing MLC up north while everybody's watching Venenu fall down.
Incon's going to be able to wrap around on his horse, but now it's going to be Cope. It caught in a little awkward position. ScaryD, though, he's going to focus out Incon. I like this idea. He is the sustain and the backbone for Allegiance. You take him out, you take the rest of the team out as a result.
I mean, that was a strategy against gods like Khepri, characters that keep you and your team fight in the game. You focus the hell way back when. You focus the Khepri before that, and now you focus the Guan Yu. Take out the team utility, and you can take out the team. Luminosity going to start the fire giant, half HP on the big man. Cope misses the freeze as ScaryD plays the cone perfectly. Cope's just going to get walked down, and the fire giant's going to get bursted down. LG, they've got 4 players alive. I don't think they're going to wait for Xenotronics this time. 33 on the clock, and Luminosity leading by 10K plus a fire giant.
Stealth had to defend the left-hand side. He didn't want to give up the Phoenix yet again. The Titan was already taking enough damage as it was. Cope had to defend 2 waves earlier on, and then once Stealth got pressured out, he was the one to defend more waves. So now Luminosity with the fire giant yet again. Xenotronics without it, but it doesn't really matter when BaRRaCCuDDa has it.
So everything really coming up Millhouse for Luminosity here in the late match. This is pretty much, I think, what they had planned. Xenotronics is there just to sort of bridge the gap from the early to the late game, right? Mask, like Agro was saying, this Susano's not really going to do much super early. BaRRaCCuDDa on the Jing way looking for the late game, and JeffHindla looking to make these plays, hitting MLC right away from the portal, and down he goes. BaRRaCCuDDa in late game form, full build, even got the golden bow online, or the Odie bow rather.
It seems like MLC Stuff was wondering, where the hell did Luminosity come from? He didn't even have time to really go through his portal, and now Luminosity, they have the fire giant, they have a 5-on-4 play. They're going to be able to take out this weekend the left side Phoenix, no problem.
Just a beautiful play out of JeffHindla, and again finding the pluck around the corner. Supports don't always get the spotlight, but JeffHindla, enjoy it. You're crushing it, buddy.
It's going to be now Luminosity grouped up in the mid lane. The wall from Cope trying to stop the in-hands, but it's not going to be enough. Now going over to the last remaining Phoenix, not able to hit the pluck.
Just as we celebrate the support, he finds himself on the bad side of a pluck. Not too big of a deal. The rest of Luminosity bringing the pain. Wall's going to set up and separate a couple of players, but it just don't matter. 2 Phoenixes down, the third one, they're going past it. Weekend's able to stop the push for the moment, but Mask again finds the the double kill. Titan slowly ticking down. A lot of HP on this one. Cope can't find the freeze for the life of him. Still pushing forward is Luminosity. MLC bites back. Down goes the mid lane. Still pushing forward to the Legions. Great defensive set from ALG, but Cope's wall proves fruitful. ScaryD still able to find MLC.
Stealth going down, and now it's going to be Incon caught in a 2-on-3, getting plucked away from the Titan
Nice
pulled,
grab.
bounced around the wall, keeping him alive, but not long enough for Mass to find the kill. It's 3-on-1 against Cope, but this Titan is at full health because it constantly kept getting reset.
There's just no minions here, Tolly. Doesn't matter. Luminosity's still going to push forward. ScaryD, Mask, and JeffHindla. Can they do it by their lonesome? Cope's going to force the players out with the good old ultimate. But ladies and gentlemen, it's those 3 players trying to make it happen. And they will. Down goes the Titan. Luminosity take it in 35 minutes, 24-13.
Now they're going to be at 6 points, 2 ahead of Allegiance, 2 ahead of Eager. They have a very important set in the end of the day against Eager. It's so important for them to close out today. They open up today strong. Now it's time for them to close it strong.
Luminosity kind of struggled again, looking towards that Eager matchup. Wasn't the brightest day in their history, but here, I think it's a different story. ALG is one of the stronger teams here, and Luminosity able to take 2 above them. And like I said, I'm going to keep looking towards that dual lane. BaRRaCCuDDa gets a lot of the celebration, but that late game, the last 10 minutes of that match, that was Sobek, baby. That was all JeffHindla, the man right there.
They were all grouped up, and they wanted to look for those plays. The plays coming out of Allegiance the first game were good in the early game. They couldn't execute it in the mid, but Luminosity this time around, they were grouped up, and they wanted to force the issue with the Sobek on Jeff.
I mean, Sobek was able to find, Jeff was able to find the pick onto MLC Stealth, which allowed them to push forward. He's able to chase the beads out of the Hunter, which allowed them to get the kill there. And then, of course, with two of the more damaging characters down, Jeff is able to rally the team and push forward to take the win. We've got the analysts one more time to close out this LG set. Kevin, take it away.
That probably has been our most intense set, at least in this group so far. We had some pretty good ones in Group A, but what went so right for LG in Game 2, Aggro?
Masked. Masked
Again.
still did a really great job. It was just weathering the storm of MLC Stealth Scylla, or Janus in Game 2. As soon as I hear MLC Stealth, I still think Scylla, even if he hasn't played it in forever. But yeah, that Janus obviously doing everything he can to keep ALG in the game. But it was just, that was a true team effort from Luminosity. And
Yeah.
that's what made them so successful during the online stages. It was ScaryD doing his job. It was Mass doing a great job. Jeff was a great initiator, pulling people out of position. Usually it was Guan Yu, but forcing beads and purification on basically Venenu every time that he could. Just an all-around team effort for LG, which is the best possible sign for them. You'd rather see that than see BaRRaCCuDDa go, 18-0 and carry the game. Team effort from LG, they looked great.
ScaryD, a really phenomenal performance this set. Definitely seems to have shaken off his land nerves as well. This is a very strong team he went up against. What was Scary doing this set that you really saw him shine in, Taco?
I just think that he had a lot more control over the game in general, especially over his lane in general. You could tell that, they were forcing Copebby, or not necessarily forcing him, but they were pressuring him into more of these team-oriented picks to try and be able to use his kit as more of utility for his team and AOG, but I don't think it really worked out. And instead, ScaryD just came out and he played his game. He got on picks that he felt a lot more comfortable with, and the way that he rolled with them and just the confidence that he had on them, especially on this Vamana, was just absolutely incredible.
And then, ALG, really solid performance, but I have to go back to that last play, Stealth trying to farm up the fire minions. Had purification online, Divios actually noted it, but JeffHindla snipes him out here, and he's just, the MLC Stealth was so critical, I think, for ALG to turn that around.
That's the last hope for ALG was to have Stealth hit a big ultimate. And I think I heard it in their comms saying, just watch out for the snipe. That's the only way we lose this push. Getting that pickup by the boars is a really good way to not get sniped because you've got 55 seconds where he's dead.
Brutal. I mean, MLC Stealth has been phenomenal for a long time, always has struggled with positioning. It's really been the keystone holding him back there, but so unfortunate for that to happen. Here's the post-game stats. Something to note, I think, is the healing coming out from ALG 2 games in a row with this Guan, but they never seemed to be in a position where they were on the offensive and sieging with it.
I think the big thing about this is that, honestly, Jeff on that Sobek in Game 2 was the unsung hero, in my opinion, because while, F. mentioned it during the cast, supports typically don't tend to get the spotlight most of the time, but I think Jeff did an excellent job in getting the picks and ensuring that his team was able to collapse properly and forcing the actives when they needed to. And I just think that he did an excellent job overall.
Well, we're going to give JeffHindla a spotlight now. He's on the side with Hindu for an interview after that incredible set.
Dennis, and yes, I do have the other half of the sex tank alongside me today, JeffHindla. First of all, I want to talk through, Jeff, day one, you guys came in. A lot of rookies on your team, a lot of land nevs. What were the adaptations you guys made going into day two?
I mean, basically, we looked at game one as, like you said, there was a lot of rookies, right? It's their first time ever playing LAN. It's their first time meeting everybody, and I think we worked a lot of those issues out because it's definitely nervous being on stage, or like kind of nerve-wracking, right? So I'm pretty sure we worked a lot of it out. We talked about what we did wrong in our like whole first day, even against, even in the games we won, we talked about what we did right and what we did wrong, and we just tried to correct it, and it worked out.
And obviously, with these rookies on your team as well, like you and BaRRaCCuDDa, kind of have to step up a little bit more. Does it feel more pressure on your shoulders this time around with this run for Super Regionals?
No, it really doesn't. Like I said, everyone's, we kind of got like all the nerves out, so today was really, really much better comm-wise than it was yesterday, but yesterday was still good. I didn't feel like hard pressured or anything like that. You just go in, you play your game.
And then obviously still later on today, we're going to see you guys have to face off one more time, I believe, against Eager later on today. Obviously, day one, you saw some strategies they have. Do we have any plans ourselves on the side of Luminosity?
Yeah, we have some strats.
You do? You don't want to leak anything, obviously?
No.
Nope. Overall, though, for you this weekend, obviously, you've got your 3 rookies on LAN as well. Who's stepping up for you right now?
Right now, I want to say Mass is doing really well. His comms are great. His energy is insane, especially today. I'm not sure if you guys were really able to hear it, but
oh, you could hear
a lot of the times I was like, "Wow, okay, you wanna yell, or you can be the one to yell." And like I'm kind of like quieting down. He's really hyped and he's really getting into it, and I'm really happy with how he's playing.
Awesome. Final thoughts in the group. Where do you expect to finish?
First.
First?
Yep.
Good on you, Jeff. Thanks for joining me today. And Jeff will be up later on today as well. We'll be back after the break with the next set of action.